Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai. Om Vishnu Padma Sarigata Shloka Shri Srimati Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Samaveta Lord all glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. So we're reading from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, verse number 12, Divinity and Divine Service. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Tatchat Shraddhadhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashyantyatmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Shuta Grihitaya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. That absolute truth is realized by seriously inquisitive student or sage who is well equipped with knowledge and who has become detached by rendering devotional service and hearing the Vedanta Shruti. The absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, who is the full-fledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. As such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. There are four different types of living beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other three are transcendental. The first class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Absolute Person. And the third class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service. which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from the material association. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the Absolute Truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is, the paths of Jnana and Yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the Absolute Truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, fixed up on the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method of realizing the Absolute Truth by the seriously inquisitive student. Devotional service is not, therefore, meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. There are three classes of devotees, namely, first, second, and third class. The third class devotees, or the neophytes, who have no knowledge, nor are detached from the material association, but who are simply attracted by the preliminary processes of worshipping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. Material devotees are more attached to material benefit than transcendental profit. Therefore, one has to make definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second class devotional position. In the second class position, the devotee can see four principles in the devotional line, namely the personality of Godhead, his devotees, the ignorant, and the envious. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of a second class devotee and thus become eligible to know the Absolute Truth. A third class devotee, therefore, has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavatam. The number one Bhagavatam is the established personality of devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third class devotee has therefore to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadeva Goswami, like Sutta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-round benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from the authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing, so one should be very careful about the 40 process. The holy message of Godhead, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are so, such transcendental matters are not to be received from the professional man, who spoils them like the serpent spoils the milk simply by the touch of his tongue. A sincere devotee must, therefore, be prepared to hear the Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. And without hearing and following the instructions, the show of devotional service becomes worthless, and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless, therefore, devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, or Pancharatra authorities, the make show of devotional service should at once be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called Samadhi. Hare Krishna. So, in this part of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sutta Goswami is now explaining actually about the process of devotional service. This is the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam actually. This is the point we are still discussing about the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are talking, history of Srimad Bhagavatam invariably talks about the process of liberation from material nature. In the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. Material world means birth, old age, disease and death. Everything in between is simply a happenstance. It's just happening, But the real aspect of this material world means birth, old age, disease and death. One who has taken Janma, Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu. One who has taken birth is sure to die. And all the activities that are carried out in between are simply a waste of time. So, as soon as one takes birth in a human body, he is required to inquire into the real self. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Therefore, now you have taken birth in a human body. Therefore, now inquire about the absolute truth. Because even animals will take birth and they also die. Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha samanyam etat pashubhir naranam. So, ahara nidra bhayamaithun, these are the only activities of all living entities. Eating, sleeping, mating and defending. Humans do it in a very polished manner. The animals do it very crudely. But in reality, there is no difference. You see, the dog runs on 4 legs, we run on 4 wheels. So what is really the value of our civilization? The dog eats from the gutters, we eat in 5-star hotels. The dog sleeps on the street, we sleep in air-conditioned apartments. The dog has sex with anyone, we have like a elaborate marriage ceremony and we give it so many romantic names. But the propensity is the same. The dog also loves his family, we also love our family. So what is the difference? The real difference is that we have the facility to know who we are. The dog has no such facility. So anyone who takes human birth must try to understand who he really is. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam, the sages are making this inquiry. So Srila Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami here is explaining, the absolute truth is realized by the seriously inquisitive student or sage who is well equipped with knowledge and who has become detached by rendering devotional service and hearing the Vedanta Shruti. So you see, this Ahar Nidra Bhayamaithun, these are the very characteristics of every living entity. You have a body, so you will feel hungry. These are the urges of the body and the mind. They have to be satisfied. So therefore, the Vedas do not deny this. The Vedas are not saying, no, you don't have to do this, don't do this. No, Vedas are not saying that. The Vedas have made facility for fulfilling these desires, but at the same time, purifying yourself from the clutches of material nature. That process is known as Varnashram Dharma. So you take birth, you take education from a spiritual master, you enter into family life, you fulfill your desires in a controlled manner, within the precincts of the Vedas. You purify yourself and eventually obtain release from this material body, which is the actual source of all your miseries. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi is related to the body, it's not belonging to the soul. So this Varnashram process, though it provides facility for sense enjoyment, it eventually leads to purification and deliverance from material nature. However, if one does not try to inquire into the absolute truth and simply is satisfied being a grihastha or a vanprastha or a sannyasi, one will again fall into this material nature and will again have to suffer birth, old age, disease and death. Actually, the Vedic literatures are also explaining that it's not just birth, old age, disease and death. There are 3 other types of miseries which the material nature inflicts upon us. Adhyatmic, Adhidaivic and Adhibhautik. Adhyatmic, those kleshas or miseries which we inflict upon ourselves, our own mind. Why am I short, why am I fat, why am I dark, why am I bright, why am I bald? All those things. Our own misconceptions. These are Adhyatmika. No one is caring for all these things, but we think, oh, why am I like this, why is it like that, why am I not rich? No one really cares. These are Adhyatmika kleshas we inflict upon ourselves. Adhibhautika kleshas, miseries inflicted by other living entities. You're walking on the street, some bum comes and beats you up, or there's a war going on right now. What is all this? Adhibhautik, other living entities. Mosquitoes are biting in the summertime, or some dogs are barking at us. Adhibhautik kleshas. Those who are from India, they especially know this. Adhibhautik kleshas. Then there is Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika, Adhidaivik klesha. What is Adhidaivik? Divine intervention. You see miserable weather, -5, -10, -20 degrees. No one has any control over it. No science, no technology can save us from this. So, or earthquakes, floods, tsunamis. All this is Adhidaivik. We have no control over it. So you see, this material life is full of so many different types of miseries. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that what is the happiness of a modern man? You get up early in the morning, you wake up with a lot of stress, you have work, there's some work to be done, some job. And then you get up in the morning, you quickly get ready, you eat something very small, insignificant, you don't even bother about taste or anything. You just eat something quickly, and then you run. You commute all the way to your office, and there is so much of stress, so much of problems. You're working hard, 7, 8 hours. Then you again eat something in between, just to save time, you eat something small. Then you come back, you commute, then you come back, you're very tired. Then again you take some little bit of dinner, and then you are exhausted. And then you see your family, some wife, some child, a little bit, for 5 minutes, 1 hour. So, for in the whole of 24 hours, just for the sake of some 1 hour, 2 hour enjoyment, you're struggling so hard. So you see, this is material nature. And yet, this nature will convince you that you are happy. You work hard. So, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that the living entity convinces himself that he has so many responsibilities, and he becomes entangled in this material nature. And at the time of death, he quits this body, thinking of his family, his children, his nation, his society. And in this way, he again is dragged back into another body, and he again suffers repeatedly this pangs of birth, old age, disease, and death. So this is not what human life is meant for. So this process of varnashram dharma is meant to liberate us from this cycle. So Vedas are not restricting us from sense enjoyment, but they are regulating us in such a way that we do not become entangled, and then eventually we obtain freedom. So, but how do we understand this dharma? This understanding of dharma will not come automatically, just like that. One has to approach a spiritual master. One has to approach a devotee of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanena tattva darshina. See, if you want to study, for example, physics or chemistry or mathematics, you go to a professor of physics or a professor of chemistry to understand. Because he is Tattvadarshi, he has seen the truth, he understands the subject matter. So also in spiritual life, you have to approach a Tattvadarshi, one who has seen the absolute truth. So therefore, by approaching such a spiritual master, you are able to also acquire this knowledge of the absolute truth. But the process, what is the process? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. You approach a spiritual master, render service, and ask relevant questions. So one should not just listen to a guru and say, okay, very well, okay, nice, now I know. No, you have to ask questions. But these questions are not to be asked just like that. One has to render service first. One has to surrender to a spiritual master, render some service, and then ask questions. This is the process of learning about the absolute truth. So such a spiritual master can give you the knowledge of the absolute truth. So Srimad Bhagavatam, again like this very chapter it continues, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttam shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So by approaching such a spiritual master, who is also known as the person Bhagavat, all that is disturbing to your heart will be destroyed. Actually, all our miseries are self-inflicted. We see, for example, especially those who are from India and China, you know how brutal the examination system is. If you're preparing for examinations like say IIT or the Chinese Gaokao, you have to study so hard. You work extremely hard for 3 years, 4 years. And then again, after that, the studies themselves are so hard in the university. And then after that, once you have finished that, then you realize, oh, you have to work still harder in your job and other things. This hard work just continues. So in this way, you are inflicting so much of misery upon yourself. But in reality, you are only going to get what is due you as per your karma, as per your prarabdha. So you see, people are working so hard, but some very hard-working people are still poor, and some people don't work hard. What does it take to be the son of a millionaire? You don't have to, write some exam. You don't have to, take some examination to take birth in a family of a millionaire. You don't have to. It's just your prarabdha, your previous birth. In this life also we see people, some people struggle very hard to study subjects and they're not able to understand. And yet others simply read a book and they understand everything. So this is coming from our previous births. So one should not work very hard. Actually, according to the Vedas, a grahastha should not work more than 4 to 8 hours a day. And the remaining time should be spent upon meditating on the absolute truth. So nashta prayeshu avadreshu, all that is disturbing to the heart is destroyed. Nityam bhagavat sevaya, by rendering service to the Bhagavat. So here also Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Bhagavat, the word Bhagavat means the person. So Bhagavat, the root word is Bhaga. Bhaga means fortune. So the person Bhagavat is someone who is situated in absolute truth, the spiritual master. And also another meaning of the Bhagavat word Bhagavatam is the word of the Lord or the Srimad Bhagavatam. So by following a spiritual master who preaches from the Srimad Bhagavatam, one can actually understand the absolute truth. And by following the words of the Srimad Bhagavatam, one can become delivered from the misconception of material life. Otherwise, staying in this material world, one will repeatedly suffer different types of miseries. Different types of miseries in varieties, and every living entity is miserable in his or her own unique ways. Whether it's a human being or a demigod or a demon or an animal or a plant, doesn't matter. Material world means there is repeated birth and death. The only means to get out of these miseries is to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So only by surrendering to the Supreme Lord one can become free from this repeated cycle of birth, old age, disease and death, and also from all these different miseries that are inflicted by ourselves, by other living entities, and by divine interventions. So Srimad Bhagavatam is instructing us that one should not engage oneself in materialistic activities unnecessarily and become more and more miserable. Actually, by seriously inquisitive student, that's the word used here. So previous verse, in the verse previous to this, Srimad Bhagavatam has explained, Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. So Kamasya nendriya pritir, one's senses, one's desires should never be engaged in sense gratification. See, the living entity by nature is going to desire. We are living entities. Spiritually, we are full of desires. But when we are in the material atmosphere, these desires become polluted. For example, I'm sitting in Finland. I may desire to eat some breads or cakes or something. But if I go to, say, Bangladesh or if I go to India, I'll want to eat something, something spicy or something hot or something. These desires are simply born because the material nature is offering us different facilities. So all these desires are essentially born because we are just coming in contact with material nature. So all these perceptions, all these desires, they are simply arising because we are seeing material nature as it is in front of us. If we withdraw our senses, then we can become purified. So here you see this verse, Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. So one should engage only these desires in trying to find the jivasya tattva jigyasa. One should engage these desires in only knowing the absolute truth. Na artho yashcheha karmabhi. And one's actions should have no other objective. So if we desire, like for example, a student, when you studying in the university, there are so many temptations. He can go out and party with his friends, or he can play some sports, or he can take a walk in the forest, or do anything. But he knows that he has a specific duty to fulfill. So therefore, he or she will sit down in one place and control his mind and focus on the studies, on the subject matter. So at that time, one is controlling one's desires. Or for example, those who are married, you have so many other desires, but you know that you have responsibilities to fulfill. Like you see, you have a child here. You can't just go out and take a walk in the forest or go and see Europe. No, you have a child to take care of. So that's your duty. So even though you have a desire, you are controlling it. So even in this material life, we have to control our desires. So why not do it for the highest truth? See, try to inquire into the absolute truth. To know that absolute truth, control these lower desires. Kamasya na indriya priti. Do not engage your senses, do not desire for material gratification. Labho jiveta yavata. One should desire to live only because human life enables one to inquire about the absolute truth. This human body is very valuable. You know, you have studied very hard, now you've gotten into university. So you know this university is very valuable. You can't afford to let it go. You know, it's very prestigious, it's very nice. So you are studying hard. So likewise, this human body is also very valuable. Ahar nidra bhaya, so they are available to every species of life. But dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho, dharmena hina pashubhi samano. So this dharma, this facility is only given in this body. So engage that in trying to know the absolute truth. So human life enables one to inquire about the absolute truth. This should be the goal of all works. So therefore, make absolute truth the goal of your life. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Mad manabhav mad bhakto mad vyaji mam namaskaru mame veshyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. So Krishna is giving a very simple path in Bhagavad Gita. Man mana, always think of me. Always think. Mad bhakto, become my devotee. Worship me, offer your obeisances unto me. In this way you will come to me, because you are very dear to me. So Krishna is promising already that if you are thinking of him all the time, you are very dear to me. Actually, every living entity is dear to Krishna. I mean, mameva ansha jiva loke jiva bhut sanatana. Every living entity is a part and parcel of Krishna. So I can't say that I don't like my hand, or I don't say I don't like my ear. They are dear to me. I don't have to say it. I don't even have to think it. I know. It's all the time. All my parts are dear to me. I don't say I like my right eye, but I don't like my left eye. No. So if we are parts of Krishna, then naturally we are dear to Krishna. So Krishna is saying that you are anyway dear to me. Just think of me and you will come to me. So how difficult is that really? So that's really very simple. All you have to do is simply chant the holy names. Krishna is giving this simple path. You know, he's giving the Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam. Karo Nastyev, 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 Gatir Anyatha. So you just have to simply recite the names of the Lord. That's not very difficult. So one does not have to go to the forest. Actually, Krishna is advising Arjuna in the beginning that go to the forest, take sannyas, go to the forest, sit on an asan made of kusha grass and deer skin, and then you focus your life airs between your eyes, and then you meditate. So Krishna says, so Arjuna says, this path that you are speaking about appears impractical. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi badavadkarnam. My mind is too restless, so I cannot focus. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudhishtaram. This way that you are describing of controlling the mind, this seems more difficult than controlling the wind. So this path of yoga, which Krishna has explained, he says this is impractical. It's not practical to me at all. So Krishna is advising that by practice and determination, by practice, detachment and determination, you can actually focus your mind. But in the end, Krishna is explaining a much simpler path. In the 18th chapter, he says, simply think of me. Always think of me. So, by simply thinking of Krishna all the time, one can actually become delivered from all the difficulties of this material life. But one has to have a serious desire to always advance in spiritual life. Tat Shaddadhana Munayo, by seriously inquisitive student. So one should not simply be attracted by the externalities of devotional service, the external formalities of dharma. Nowadays it's very popular to, just say, like especially like in India, people just say, oh, Jai Shri Ram, now the Ram temple is done. So what has been achieved? How has that changed your life? Have you become dedicated? Have you given up for, breaking the four regulative principles? You should always think. So that's why the word used here is munayo. Munayo, the word means sage, inquisitive sage. See, we are all educated, practical people. We should always think of cause and effect. Try to see what is the real impact of any action. What is the real effect? Most of the people, so here it is described that third class devotee is always attracted by the externalities. Oh, there's a temple, that's nice. That's third class. Second class means to understand the distinction. Try to understand the difference between the substance and the shadow. And first class means to actually understand the substance itself. So one should not remain on the third class platform, just remaining, satisfied with the externalities. Yes, it's nice. To be third class is also nice. But to stay in third class is not. Because one will easily fall down from the third class platform. Because third class platform is an external platform. It is just dealing with the external formalities. So today I am attracted by dharma, today I am attracted by temples, tomorrow I will be attracted by brothels also. And that is what happens. That's how the living entity falls. But if one elevates oneself from the platform of third class to second class, then one will become established on the path of transcendence, and then one can deliver oneself from this material nature. So that is very easily done. All you have to do is simply chant the holy names of the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prescribes this very simple process. Constant chanting of the names of Krishna. There are many processes actually. Material world means there are many processes, like Nana Makari Bhavda Nija Sarvashakti Tatrarpita Nimita Smaranena Kala Etadashi Tava Kripa Bhagwan Mamapi Durdeva Drasham Yahajani Anuraga. There are many names of the Lord. Many names of the Lord. And all the names have equal potency. And not only that, there are no rules and regulations. Anyone can remember these names at any point in any way. And they'll have all the benefit. But the misfortune is that we ourselves have no attraction. So there are many names of the Lord. Like if you go to South India, Namo Narayana, Ramakrishna Hari, there are so many names. So in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we chant the names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Brahmanaradiya Purana says this, Iti Shodashikam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam. These 16 names of the Lord, they will deliver one from all the corruptions of the Kali Yuga, of the age of Kali. So simply by chanting of these holy names, one will become delivered. But the point is that one has to chant these names in a mood of humility. This should be done as a prayer and as a request. Then one will become purified. And then one will be able to elevate oneself from the platform of third class to at least second class. And then by gradually rendering service to a first class devotee, one can become situated on the platform of first class as well. So this is the process which we call bhakti. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. Thank you very much for your amazing lecture, all the condensed wisdom of all Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Man. And today we have newcomers that went first time to the temple, and they're here in the temple. And what do you advise them? What they should start?
Okay. See, start chanting the holy names. See, material world means Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Okay, now you have come to the temple for the first time. Maybe you are hearing this for the first time as well. So consider this to be the beginning of spiritual life. Material world is a very dangerous place. Padam yat padam. Any moment disaster can happen here. Just yesterday I was reading a news that somebody was running a marathon and he suffered a heart attack and simply collapsed. And last week there was a news in India only. This is a news in India only. There was some student who was preparing for an entrance examination, just 17 years old, and he just collapsed on his seat and died. So you see, death can happen any moment. This body that we are so proud of can be taken away from us in a minute. Like in a moment it can be taken away from us. So therefore, there is no time. One may think, oh, I am young, these things are to be done when I become old, or these things are okay, I can do it tomorrow, today is okay, today let me finish my job. No, there is no time really. Material nature is merciless in her dealings. You see the weather outside. Now if I just walk outside and I say, oh Mother Nature, please save me, please have mercy. No, it's not going to work. I have to protect myself. That's the law of nature. So you see, Every moment, this is an urgency. When Srila Prabhupada met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for the first time, Srila Prabhupada, so he was talking about the preaching the message of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada was very educated. And this was the very first question he asked. Who will listen to your message of Radha and Krishna when India is still a slave? So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would have none of it. He said, it doesn't matter. Today the British may be ruling, tomorrow the Indians may rule. It doesn't matter. This message of Bhagavatam cannot wait. So there is no time to wait really. Death can come at any moment. Just the other day I was discussing with a devotee friend of mine. We were traveling by train and we were discussing about the uncertainty of life. So he's a very rich person. He works in a multinational, he has a very senior position. And he's very content with his job and family and everything. And we were discussing about the uncertainty of life and how dangerous this world is. Any moment anything can happen. We were discussing this and within a week, he gets a message that his mother is terminally sick. So you see, anything can happen at any moment. This material world, please remember this. This material world is not designed for our happiness. This is meant to give us miseries so that we can liberate ourselves. You see, the process of birth and death is extremely painful. It's not what you see in the movies. The child who is born from the womb of his mother, or the man who is dying, who's lying on his deathbed, they are experiencing a pain which is equivalent to 35,000 scorpion bites. It's very difficult. If one thinks, okay, I'll remember Krishna when I'm old, then Maharaj Kulashekar has a message. Krishna tvadiya pada pankaja panjarantam adjaiva vishatume mahansaraj hansa. That, my dear Lord, let my mind be focused on the network of your lotus feet. Prana prayana samaye kapavata pittau kantava rodhana vidhau smaranam kutaste. When time comes for me to leave this body, kapavata pitta, all the mucus, the bile and air will be rising up my throat. At that time, my brain would be bursting with pressure of these three and it will be burning with fear. At that time, when I'm in so much pain, how will I think of you? So better let me die now when I'm still young and my health is good, then I can think of you. So this is Maharaj Kulashekar. He's one of the Alvars in the South Indian tradition. So he was a great king. He's one of the 13 Alvars of South India. So he has composed Mukundamala Stotram and many other scriptures. He was a great king but a great devotee of Lord Narayan. So he's praying like this. So you see, this material world is a very dangerous place. So whether you are a newcomer or you are an old and established devotee, it doesn't make any difference. Try to become serious, very serious in bhakti. You don't have to stop your jobs. I mean, you may be a consultant, you may be an engineer or a doctor or an accountant or anything. But try to focus, try to find time and try to think of Krishna. See, we are living in Finland here. And we may think that, life is very good. But please remember that this land has seen wars so many times. And even now, any moment a war can start. And then where do you go? What do you do then? You can't protest, hey, this is unfair. I studied so hard to come here from India. I am so rich. How can this war come? No, you cannot protest. Material nature works in our own ways. There is no protestation. You see, go to the hospitals and see. So many young people are dying. In fact, just one of somebody in my family, he's a 17-year-old boy. He's Finnish. And he's suffering from cancer. Multiple organs. Cancer has eaten up his brain, eaten up his heart. The cancer started from his heart, actually. Heart, it has gone to brain, it has gone to the lymphatic system. The boy is living a miserable life. The doctors are also kind of hoping that he just dies now. There's so much pain and anxiety. So you see, it's material nature. Now the boy cannot protest, this is not nice. I'm in Finland, I should have a happy life. So you cannot say that. Even in Swarga, even in heavenly planets, one has to fall down. So many times demons come and they throw away Indra. When Vritrasur came, he tried to kill Indra. Or when Bali Maharaj came, he kicked out Indra. So you see, material world is very dangerous. There is no time. There is literally no time. As they say in English, there's many a slip between the cup and the lip. Yes. So,
I have one question.
yes.
As I have learned somewhere that all human beings are born with not five elements, it's like five colors.
Mm-hmm.
But one needs to move from these five colors to 6, 7, or 8 colors.
Mm-hmm.
Like 8 colors is the maximum where human can reach.
Yeah.
Because from 8, 9, 10, and 11, they are like a Deva avatar.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person who is a god like a Rama and a Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
they only can have more than 10 or 12 or 16. So what is the way that we should move from fifth color to sixth color and seventh color and then eighth color? What is the path?
Actually, not five. Human beings are born with 50 qualities. Lord Krishna has 64, Lord Narayan has 60, Lord Shiva has 55, and Brahma and living entities have 50 qualities. They are manifest in different degrees. But you have to transcend all of this. You have to become transcendental. We were talking about different realizations. So the absolute truth exists in three forms: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So Brahman is this whole manifestation. Everything that you see is Brahman. You and I are also a part of this Brahman. Paramatma is the manifestation within the heart. He is the sustaining force of this universe. And beyond him is Bhagavan. He is the original Purusha. So all these photographs you're seeing are of Bhagavan. It's the Bhagavan manifestation. The living entity has to transcend this Brahman stage also. See, we are right now in Maya. So we may be manifesting these 50 qualities to some extent, a little bit or more. In a pure state, we manifest all these 50 qualities from you. But that is not the objective of spiritual life. Objective of spiritual life is to become free from Maya. These gunas will come and go. So under the influence of these three modes, Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Dvitya. So we have to become free from these three modes, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and Sattva. That you will manifest all these 50 qualities and you will become transcendental. But that is only possible through devotional service. So by process of yoga, for example, by process of karma yoga, you will attain heavenly planets. But you will remain in a conditioned state of life. For example, you are sitting here in Finland, which is very nice. The standard of living is very good. Now there is someone who's sitting, say, for example, in Bangladesh, or someone is sitting in Ethiopia, or right now, say, Syria. That's a very lower standard of living. But you see, these are just different standards of living within this earth itself. Above this are the heavenly planets, which have still higher standard of life. And yet, in all these planets, there is death and disease. The President of America also suffers from diseases, even though he has all the facilities. So you see, this is not the real objective. There is no happiness really. Finland may be the best country in the world, actually, literally speaking, in terms of material facilities. But still people have depression, alcoholism, and diseases. So you see, so material world means there will be miseries. So you have to become free from this. That can be done. So those who practice karma yoga, they will attain up to heavenly planets. Those who practice ashtanga yoga, those who practice jnana yoga, they will attain up to Brahman, becoming free from all bodily conceptions. Those who practice ashtanga yoga process, they will attain Paramatma. But only those who practice bhakti, they will attain the personality of Godhead or eternal life. Because even from the platform of Paramatma realization or Brahman realization, you can still fall down. Because there are desires. There is no relationship. See, living entity by nature must have relationships. It cannot stay alone. So in Brahman and with Paramatma, this relationship is not fulfilled. So if this relationship is not fulfilled, the living entity will seek something and again come back to material world. It may be in the planet of Brahma or it may be in some lower planet, but it will be there. So one will again fall down. Punar avartino Arjuna. Again, punar avarti, will again fall down. So only those who attain the bhakti platform, they will be delivered from this material nature for good, like for permanently. So the objective is not to improve oneself. Yes, that is certainly nice, but you should try to just cross over this barrier. Yes, any other question?
Since you have mentioned about the Ashtanga Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga.
Yes.
So Ashtanga Yoga takes us to the path of the
Paramatma. Yeah.
And Bhakti Marg takes us to the path of the Lord.
Lord, yeah, Bhagavan.
So what difference does it make? Because anyway we are reaching it to the same point. Or
See, there is no difference really. But the process of execution in this age is difficult when it comes to Ashtanga Yoga. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, bit difficult. For example, there are people shouting everywhere. Our bodies are not so strong. See, like Ashtanga Yoga begins with sannyas. The very beginning point is sannyas. You can't just say, okay, I'll go for a Sunday yoga lecture. No, you have to take sannyas. Krishna is advising sannyas as the very beginning point of Ashtanga Yoga. So it's not an invalid process, it's not a bogus process. It's not a practical process in this age. So even in bhakti actually, the steps are the same. So let's just take a small analogy. I'll just take 5 minutes. See the first step of Ashtanga Yoga is yama, what you have to give up. So meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication and gambling. Any process of yoga you have to stop these 4. So that is yama. Bhakti or yoga, you have to do this. Then niyama. So niyama means what? We chant the holy names, we take sanctified prasadam, we wear certain types of clothes, so this is niyama, we follow rules and regulations. Yama niyam, then there is asana. So what is asana? Asana means controlling the body. So in devotion also, we control the body. We don't just do nonsense activities all the time. We sit in one place and chant. That is asana. Then there is pranayam. Pranayam is the control of life breath. Pranayam process, like a very big process, pranayam. So it's controlling of the life airs and hence controlling the mind. So that we do when we are chanting the holy names, we are regulating our life breath. We don't talk nonsense. Prajalpo niyamagraha. So prajalpa we have to give up. So we are controlling the life breath and the mind. So then there is pratyahar. Pratyahar means giving up unwanted thoughts. So unwanted thoughts, so we don't think of unnecessary things. We give up materialism. So pratyahar. Then there is dharana. Dharana means acquiring the thoughts of Paramatma in Ashtanga Yoga. But dharana for us means acquiring the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Then dhyan, meditating on that. And eventually becoming established in samadhi. So in this way, see, these processes are not opposed to each other or different from each other. These are just different ways of executing the same objective. So eventually, a yogi who is executing the Ashtanga Yoga is also aiming for the same objective. It's only his own consciousness which keeps him from going back to the Supreme Lord. So the process of Ashtanga Yoga, process of Bhakti are not really different from each other. Their objectives are the same. But Bhakti is easier in this age because there is a special allowance for it. That in this age, simply by chanting, you can attain the same result. In Ashtanga Yoga, if you fall down from any one step, your progress is finished. You have to start again. You may have some advantage, but you'll have to go back. And the process will not be complete. Like if you stop at say dhyan or dharana and you don't proceed further, you will not make any progress. But in bhakti, even a little bit of progress will stay with you, life after life. So bhakti is easier. But I'm not saying that it is, I'm saying it's a simple process, but I'm not saying it's an easy process. This giving up unwanted thoughts, regulating one's consciousness is not an easy process at all. Constantly thinking of Krishna, this is not easy. In this age of Kali, because the disease is so strong, so this process has been given. But this also requires a great deal of effort. It's not an easy process, not a cheap process certainly. You see, devotees struggle for it can be sometimes many lifetimes. But we have to start somewhere. Does that answer your question? Yes. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then we stop here today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki.
Thank you very much, Madhusevita Prabhu. This is Madhusevita Prabhu ki.